it's been the biggest story going, I would say, in the NFL for the last 7 to 10. Whenever Jeff Darlington really put it out there and there was clearly substance behind it, that Deebo Samuel was going to get traded or wanted to trade. And the 49ers did not create it. So it's, even though it's taken on a light that the 49ers, it was like a two-way street. Once he's trying to force their hand, obviously the moment Jeff Darlington's tweet went viral, as it should have, one of the best players in the NFL says, I want a trade away from a team that had just won 4 playoff games in the last 3 years. It was a big deal. So the 49ers phone started blowing up. And once that happens, you have to start like, well, who would they trade him to? Who would want him? Obviously, their phone, like I would imagine, like with legitimate offers, 15 teams in the NFL sniffing around, making offers. They might not be good, but like, hey, we'll give you 3 second-round picks for him, whatever, for Deebo Samuel. So the Niners are just getting a lot of information, even though they're not that interested. You got to write it on the board, and we've been doing it. But I think you saw with A.J. Brown got traded, like, pretty clear, maybe the money and maybe they just know like his injury. Maybe they just, I don't know, whatever, however they played it out, their mindset, and you've talked about this earlier on the draft, was way different than the 49ers. But I also think it's been a little unfair, and I'm very guilty of this, to just assume the Niners, like just because you offer me something, and I'm not saying Deebo's Steph Curry or Mike Trout or something, but to the Niners, he's very, very important. Very important. And clearly one thing they are good at is understanding money and numbers. They have a pretty good idea then that the going rate is 457. They never thought it was 75. Now maybe Deebo does, but it's not now Deebo. It's 4 for 57 and 100, which I think they would gladly pay him. So now the Jets have blown their load. The Niners cannot trade Deebo Samuel for any picks in the second. And if, as you and I are talking here on Thursday night, if they did it, people would fucking be furious. And I don't think they would, because if they would have done it tonight. That like this whole saga was kind of Deebo created, and he kind of looks like an idiot. Like
the guy that didn't create any noise got traded. The guy that made it easy on his team, helped his team by not making any noise.
Who was represented by the same human being.
Represented by the same guy. They got Traylon Burks, the Titans, who
like just made an easy would have been a good Deebo for everyone involved, right?
Felt professional. You never want your team to feel like they're going to look weak by trading you, which is the position that Deebo put the 49ers in. He put them in a position where it would look like he won and they lost if they had traded him. That is not the way we're looking at Tennessee right now, right?
They were proactive, right? I look at Tennessee like they were cool with trading him, right?
Yeah, and we know the Niners aren't cool, and I think part of it is the Niners love Deebo, but part of it is you can't put us in a position to look weak if we give you what you want. It's not a great way to get what you want. If the person who you need their help and they have you under contract, so you need their help. If they're going to look bad by trading you, then it doesn't help them trade you.
Well, I think this goes back to a couple of days ago when John sat in front of 7,000 people on YouTube and 18 reporters or whatever. He was uncomfortable because deep down he couldn't say, this is bullshit. He's one of the best draft picks we've made. We love him. We have been singing his praises for the last 12 months about, specifically this year, about his will in carrying us. He stands for everything we want. And then for him to do this, like part of this group, and it sounds cheesy sometimes, but it is true. Like we have a unique bond inside these walls while we have a public job, but we get to fight and do things. And the best organizations, it does not come out. Like part of the crazy thing about listening to that Patriot book is like, no one really knew a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that they were choosing between Johnny Manziel and Jimmy Garoppolo. Right?
Just all the stories over the years. It's like 20 years of the best of the number one organization in the league. Like 90% of it didn't come out until there was a divorce. And John's like, not only do we not want a divorce, if you have a problem with any of us, we have spent the last 3 years together through good and the bad. And we've had, in Deebo's case, a lot more good. 2 of his 3 years in the NFL, he has won 4 playoff games, been to a Super Bowl, and we were winning in an NFC championship game with a chance to go back to another one in the fourth quarter. So it's like, Deebo, you come from South Carolina. We watched. You guys fucking sucked. Your life has been good here. People get pissed off. People have issues. It's life. Come to us. Call Kyle. Call us. What are you doing? Like, kind of a slappy move by Deebo. And listen, young people make dumb decisions. And I'm not saying he's changed. He might still want to trade, but like, you lost, buddy.
Well, you
ain't
wonder
getting
also,
traded.
was this not the agent's tactic? Because the agent represented A.J. Brown, and A.J. didn't use that tactic.
What about DK? DK walked into Seattle last week with a smoothie.
A.J. did do the IG delete, but the tactic failed.
Maybe he knew he was going to Philly.
He could have known. The tactic failed. Maybe Tennessee told him right away, okay, we'll trade you. Just keep it quiet. Right? That might have been what happened.
If it comes out, it's off. You don't say a word, and we'll take care of it. But here's my question. Unless Deebo's completely out of the loop, I don't know, he's going to be paying his agent a lot of money if he signs a $450,700. Is his agent keeping him in the loop on what's going on with his other client? Because if I'm Deebo, and I would want, like, again, I'm assuming a lot with a 25-year-old guy. I don't know if I'd think like this when I was 25. But this whole thing, I would say, looks like not an embarrassment on the 49ers stand. It makes him and just his side look really bad. And honestly, Deebo's the one that put his name to it, so it makes Deebo look terrible. Yeah. For a guy that everyone likes, good energy. Even if you wanted, I have no problem if you want to trade, but he handled it completely wrong.
Well, and it's not over because now they've called his bluff. So what's he going to do? Show up? You show up, either you show up and act bad or you show up and issue some apologies.
So he's going to start saying no guy to 57 and 100 and probably a $28 million signing bonus?
Well, I do think we talked about this. The guy that signed first would not be the guy that got the most money. So Deebo's probably going to get, I think maybe Deebo gets 60. Maybe 60.
Deebo could say, like, look at his numbers and look at my 1 year. I carried us.
Yeah. Hey, here's the difference, guys. Tennessee didn't want him. You guys want me.
Okay, so let's say he gets 159.5 or something, right?
4 for 159.5 guaranteed. Okay.
Or 58.5, just a little more.
Yeah.
He's going to, like, hey, Deebo, you sign it. You're just going to keep saying no, and we keep calling your bluff. Like, we think you're going to crack. Like, in the CBA, when the NFL always goes, players will crack. Well, the Niners are just going to be like, okay, keep sitting out. Here is the Deebo. Here is A.J. Brown's offer and an extra 2%.
Which you and I talked about this
before.
He
will keep looking bad, guy. It's going to start. People are going to start turning on him.
I think, and we talked about this a lot, and I think we agreed, it was a good bet for the Niners to call his bluff. Because unlike Devontae Adams, he had not made $60 million in his bank account. He made $6 gross million.
Would you say that contract was a good thing for the Niners too? The number that just came out tonight?
Yeah, that would. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because what if it was 70? You'd be like,
like, there's always going to be a little. Yeah, I know. If I kind of braced for it, 72, but this is a really hard one to stick to because it requires you getting fined, losing money, being a restricted free agent, not getting paid. Because here's the thing. If you think Deebo should get more money, agreed. But he probably could use the $1.2 million that's owed to him this year. He wants that money, right? Like if he holds out, he doesn't get that money. If he doesn't show up, he doesn't get that money.
But I think, like, at the most basic, like, he is better, or I mean, it's weird, like, whatever the A.J. Brown him thing goes, he is now on the clock to get this contract and potentially $1 million more or whatever. But even if this is the exact same contract they're offering, like, no one's going to feel sorry for him. Like, I would say he had, I wouldn't say sentiment or fans on his side, but people were just waiting to see how it shook out and just wanted some more information. I'd say now it's like, well, Deebo, unless it comes out the Niners refused to offer him a contract, but if it's like the Niners have a contract to Deebo Samuel for him to sign, it's A.J. Brown plus $1 million. Every single fan is going to have the 49ers back on that one. No one's going to be like, oh, Deebo's getting screwed, NBA style. Like, no one's going to feel that way. So to me, if I'm the Niners, one thing I would do before the end of the weekend is be like, we have the A.J. Brown offer out to him right now. We want to make things whole.
I think one thing that
I go public that way. Schefter says by the end of the weekend, the 49ers have handed handy. They basically said, send us the Eagle contract. We'll put 49er logo on the top. We'll add $1 million to the guarantee, $1 million to the signing bonus. Fucking let's play ball.
Yeah, I think I think they've been this way. I think they'll continue to be this way. We saw it with Brandon Ayuk. They're not going to try and dance on Deebo's grave here, right?
But
They're
that's
not
not.
going to.
But I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
No,
To
no,
get
I
the
understand.
public-
What I'm saying is though, I think John Lynch is, even though sometimes you want to win it, you want to exert your power. I don't think they don't want. I think they're going to be conscious that they don't want to embarrass Deebo, even if this ends up with Deebo coming back to them and them signing a contract. They're
I'm
not going to want to
embarrass
do that.
him.
No, I know, but whatever. I'm just saying. I think they're going to be sensitive to him, even in
Cautious.
a spot where they don't have to be.
Which is why John was fidgety, because he was afraid to say anything that offended this guy. So
You still need him to perform, right? And you're still you're going to give him $60 million. You need his best.